Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a coffee eye painting. So I've got a rough sketch to start with and I'm going to mark it up. That basically means I'm going to make some areas darker so that they stand out under the coffee, which I'm going to add in a bit. If you're unsure how to get this initial eye drawing, I do have a tutorial for this which you can ask me for. I'm happy to post that on your lesson page. So marking out all the areas that are going to be shaded in later by coffee. Right, so now I have marked up my sketch, it's time to do the lightest coat of coffee paint. And I've got my watercolour brushes. I'm going to use my largest one to get this first bit down. If you don't have a variety of sized brushes, then you can just use a small brush, which we have in school. But to start off with, I'm going to use this nice big one because it's really good at covering all the areas I need to quickly. So for this first layer, I'm pretty much going to cover the entire area that I'm going to be working with. I think the only white space I left was a tiny bit at the bottom of the eye. I shade over the top of the eye because that would be shaded by the eyelid. Okay, please wait 5 to 10 minutes for it to dry. I have waited this time. It does need to be dry before you go into your next layer or else you're going to start ruining the paper. Okay, touch your work, see if it's nice and dry. If it's a bit damp, then it's going to upset the paper when you work into it again. I'm using watercolour paper. If you don't have watercolour paper, then your paper might buckle a little bit and go a bit wrinkly. It will still work, but it won't be as effective as on watercolour paper. Or some heavy cartridge paper could also work quite well, like we have in our books. Okay, so I'm quickly going over all the areas that I've marked up for my first lot of shading. Okay, and time to wait again. Okay, layer 3, shadows. Right, so I'm just checking that my paper's nice and dry. It's starting to crease a little bit. You can see it's starting to kind of fold and go a little bit wrinkly. That's okay. So I'm moving to my smaller brush and I've got some darker coffee mix. I'm using instant coffee for this. Adding quite a lot instant coffee in there so I can get it to the colour I want it to be, which is a nice dark brown. So as you can see, the paper's getting quite wet at this point. That will cause the paper to crease, so don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm happy with that at this point. This would be your lesson 1. If you're watching this all the way through, to begin with, when you actually do work, you should pause at this point because that would be about half an hour's worth of work, and this would be starting lesson 2. So I've stretched up my paper using some sellotape. Basically you stick it down and then try and pull it as tight as you can and then stick it. This helps to avoid some of the creasing. I've gone down to a smaller brush and a darker lot of mixed up coffee. So I've added even more instant at this point just to get it darker. So now I'm working into those areas again, starting to build up some more tone. Focusing on a little bit of detail, mainly in the iris of the eye, but we're mostly focusing on shadows at this point. So as you can see, I'm sort of painting not just the eye, but also the area around the eye, like down the nose, the top of the head and the side of the head. This helps to make your painting look a bit more complete instead of just being a single eye painting. You can almost imagine it becoming a face afterwards. Right, so here I have some coffee mixed in with a little bit of turmeric. It is a yellow spice, and basically it stains the overall paint into this really nice yellow colour. I decided to add this because it adds another bit of colour dimension to this piece of work. It is quite grainy, but that's okay because once this dries you can just rub it all away. Okay, so yet again we're letting it dry completely. This does take time if we want it to look really nice. Right, so rubbing off those grains, we can't see them anymore, so that looks nice to start working on again for our darkest points. So I've got some even darker mixed up coffee. I just kept adding the instant granules to it so I can get it as dark as it can possibly be. And now I'm being more careful about where I am adding that coffee. I'm not just going everywhere with it. I'm really focusing on the socket of the eye to kind of push it back and make sure that some areas look like they're coming forwards and other areas look like they're going back, which is obviously how it would look normally. Right, I've got an even smaller brush now to focus on my smallest of details. So yeah, doing lots of nice detail in the eye itself. Getting in some hairs for the eyebrow. Please make sure you are thinking about the direction of those hairs when you do them. So using a smaller brush like this, you can be a little bit sketchy with it, kind of like you would a pencil, so I'm kind of doing some like scumbly marks with it. Okay, adding in some eyelashes. Please keep these quite sparse, you don't want it to look too overly falsely eyelashed, you want to try and keep it quite natural looking. And I'm adding a little bit more of the turmeric stained coffee just in some of those areas. Okay, I do feel like this could do with another layer, so we are going to do one more after letting this dry. Okay, so final layer time. And again, I added even more coffee to my mix, trying to get it as dark as I possibly can. That's looking nice, lovely. Right, so now I can start to really focus in on the detail. Putting in like those hairs, looking for the darkest points, focusing on the iris, getting in a nice level of detail in there. And I'm using my smallest brush to get in the smallest details. So I can see these eyelashes a lot clearer. I'm not going over the ones I did earlier, I'm trying to keep it quite sparse looking. And I think I'm almost finished with this. This video will end very quickly, so I hope that you've enjoyed this. Just got a little bit more to do. And I think that's about done. Thanks for watching.